I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for January 27th, 2014. Ask everybody please rise for invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Nathan, would you lead us, please?
Let us pray. Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that you would be with our meeting, be with our employees, our workers, be with the citizens and the children in this community. We pray for wisdom, and we pray for your blessing to continue to be on Jeffersonville. Through Jesus I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Smith.
Present.
Councilperson Zastavny.
Here.
Councilperson Sellers. Present. Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Council Vice President Gill.
Present.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Let the record reflect we have 8 council members and Councilperson Payne is absent.
And Julie. Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7. We do have 7. I
Okay.
stand corrected. Forgot about Council President Julius. So.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with an addition. I believe that the mayor would like to be added to the agenda,
Okay.
correct? Mr. Mayor? Okay, and I would like to put that under report of the clerk, and I know he has several different items that he wants to address, and my only thing to go with this is that after he speaks, whether it's about, I know he wants to speak about the road in Crystal Springs, and that the opposing people get to speak when he's done with that, and then he moves on to the next topic. Not you, not you.
You mean the folks
The
that have
idea.
signed up for public comment on
Right,
the issue?
right.
Any other changes?
Yes, one more. Shane Corbin asked to be removed and
Oh,
placed
he did?
on next meetings.
Motion to approve with changes?
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve the agenda with changes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all them in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Minutes to be approved.
In your packet is the minutes from the last meeting of January the 6th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll be abstaining due to an absence.
Got a motion and second to approve the council regular minutes for January 6, 2014. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We got claims to be approved. Amy?
I do have one hand-carried claim tonight. This is for a retainer for data collection for the homeless study. You guys had approved $15,000 last year to go towards this. And the contract was signed by Board of Public Works in December. That brings the total to $3,079,417.75. $3,079,417.75.
And that was 15,000, did you say?
No, $1,250 was the
1250?
first claim here, yes.
Okay. Okay, I might have a question, maybe. Yeah.
I have a question, Amy. Can you come here a second? Just because I'm still trying to figure out this new. Now, is this part of the claims or is this something different? It's got donations, beautification, what's this?
That is edit.
Oh, okay. All right. And that's the payment that we owed them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the claims in amount of $3,079,417.75. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Report of the clerk.
None at this time.
Okay. Then we will move on to the mayor and public comment. Mayor Moore, would you?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for letting me speak. A couple of things on my mind that obviously with the crowd that's here, I'm just curious. I know there are several people here that are representing Crystal Springs. Can I just get a show of hands to... Okay. And I've also invited Dan Christiani here. Dan is the developer, I guess the main developer there. Some of the early on developers are no longer part of that subdivision. Crystal Springs kind of offers us a unique subdivision. It was built and developed before the city of Jeff had annexed it. So therefore, they didn't have to adhere to some of the policies a new subdivision into the city of Jeff would. But they have a public safety issue out there, and they have one entrance and one exit. Now, Mr. Christiani has been kind enough, I think twice in the past week, once with snow and once with a bad traffic accident. There is a gravel exit that connects Brook Hollow and Crystal Springs, and I've heard some feedback. Some of the neighbors would very much like to see that road paved. And Crystal Springs is a very big neighborhood. I've heard several residents of Crystal Springs say, we don't want that connected because of the increased amount of traffic that it's going to bring in. I appreciate the city council hearing this. Certainly there's going to be people that want to speak about it. I'm open to any suggestions anybody may have. I just want to make sure, first and foremost, that everybody understands whatever we do, there could be a positive effect to it, there could be a negative effect to it. And in all honesty, I think we would be best to do this outside of the city council chambers. This really isn't an issue the city council is going to be deciding something on. I would like to have a neighborhood meeting with not only the residents of Crystal Springs, but with the residents of Brook Hollow. But I would encourage the residents of Crystal Springs to maybe have some conversations with some of the residents from Stony Brook. Stony Brook is, and I'm sure you all have had many, many phone calls, what's referred to as a cut-through subdivision. So if you give access to another subdivision to come through your streets, be cautious. But it's something we need to sit down and talk about, and I'm certainly open to any of the ideas. The public safety issue, Mr. Christiani typically keeps that gravel road barricaded, but he has twice in the past week removed the barricades. There's really no way to get the word out to residents in an instant, except for possibly that code red. If we get that thing implemented, that would be a way we could text people and say, hey, the gravel road barricade is open, and when you're stuck and you can't get out of your subdivision, that could be a way of doing it. So I wanted to speak about that, and I'm certainly open to hear anybody else who wants to speak, but I also had another subdivision. Would you rather I step aside so they can speak, or would you rather I...
Is it the same type of thing, or?
Well, I think we've got some residents from Waverly Road here also.
Let's go ahead and let Crystal Springs, that way it won't get
Sounds good to me.
convoluted. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I forgot I was the president.
Yeah, Lisa. You've been retired.
I know.
Lisa. I got it, thank you.
No.
Terry Hicks, please.
Right.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak, and unfortunately I can't speak real loud, but I'll try. Thank you, Vicki. I gave you all a copy of a proposal, and this map actually will make it a little easier for you all to see what I was trying to show you. As the mayor said, actually 3 times in the last 2 weeks, we have actually been locked into our community, twice due to inclement weather and accidents on the hill on New Chapel, and then once due to an overturned vehicle at the top of the hill.
Hey Terry, can you, just so they don't know, can you clarify, this is the back of Crystal Springs, correct?
Right, and
This is
I am going
into-
to address that.
Okay.
But first, with the hill, once that area is blocked, if we can't get out, emergency vehicles cannot get in. That's where the term public safety comes in. And, that's our biggest concern. If somebody's house catches on fire, somebody has a heart attack, somebody has a stroke, somebody's going to die, or somebody's house is going to burn to the ground. Because if we can't get out, they can't get in. We have looked at different things. There is a gravel connection, in which that is what the picture on the far left side is showing. That connects us to Boulder Creek subdivision. And that's Boulder Ridge Drive on both sides, even though it's not actually connected. And what the issue with that is, Boulder Creek is going to lose their exit from their subdivision because of the construction with the bridge and the new roads. Dan is actually now in talks with Walsh Construction, who's doing all of that, they're wanting Crystal Springs to allow Boulder Creek to access an exit via Boulder Ridge Drive and have access coming out through Crystal Springs for a year while they build the new exit for Boulder Ridge, or Boulder Creek, which will exit out on Middle Road?
No, exit out on
Utica Road. But it will exit out where they would actually be able to exit out and go on to 265. And at that point, we would then be able to use that as our second exit permanently. It would not make good sense for Boulder Creek to continue to use that as an exit coming out our way, because they would have to then deal with Utica-Sellersburg Road and 62. Whereas if they go out their new exit, they get to exit to either Middle Road or 265. So it'd be much more advantageous for us to go out that way. But that's going to be, minimum a year, maybe 2 years out. Right now, we have an issue. Once they start that construction, that's over. We are going to have an issue for at least a year, year and a half, 2 years out, where we're not going to have any options on a second exit. And again, we are in that situation. If there is a fire, if there is an injury, if there is an illness, somebody can die, somebody's house can burn down, because if we can't get out, help can't get in. We are not asking for a permanent exit through River Ridge in any way. We are asking for a temporary, emergency-only exit. We are willing, through our HOA, to pay for a guard, because we know that they would never allow us to access their property without a guard. We're willing to pay for that guard. But, we're talking for, a couple of hours, because in 10 years that I've lived there, the hill has been blocked 3 times, and that's been in the last 2 weeks. So, the possibility that this is going to happen on multiple occasions is very slim. But if it happens, we need to know we can have access to an exit, or emergency help can have access to an entrance. And that's all we're asking for. We certainly appreciate, Mr. Mayor, everything the city has done for Crystal Springs. We appreciate our streetlights. We appreciate our new island. We appreciate our speed bump. But this is a matter of public safety. This is not just Crystal Springs wanting everything. That's not what this is about. This is not about Terry Hicks just running her mouth. This is about Crystal Springs asking you to please help us be able to get emergency assistance if we need it. That's all. And, like I said, it may never happen. We may not ever need it before the permanent access is open. But if we do, we're asking you to please help us get that access. That's all. Thank you.
Terry, real quick, I went out there today and looked at it, and this road that you're talking about here,
Yes.
there's actually a gate on this road now, because there's cattle there,
Right.
correct? Is there not, and Dan may know better than any of us, is there not an existing road bed here? It looks like at one time there used to be some sort of gravel road bed to the right.
Dan actually has the plan that shows it a little better.
Yeah, they're actually if you go out and get lot 1 of the subdivision, which is right at the bottom of the hill,
Okay.
and there's a power line to go across there. And that lot, we really can't build a house on, not plan on building a house on it. And there's a power line going across it now that feeds River Ridge. And we could actually put a temporary road to River Ridge fence there, and that would actually be the best place. There's other locations on our property that connect to River Ridge and 2 other locations. But at both of those locations, we would be closer to the igloo field, which they want us to stay away from. And this here, this location here would put us, I don't know if you know where all the warehouses are, where the city keeps their salt and everything back there. Well, it would actually come out right in there. And there's already a road there. And the only thing we'd have a little bit difficulty with is that Hobby Carl's got some cows down there. And so, we'd have to call him when that happened, or somebody'd have to stay at the gate, and you just couldn't leave the gate wide open because the cows get out right there in that area.
And we could actually put a cattle
You
crossing.
can put a
You could
cattle
put
gate
across
across.
there. But then the other one, we could put another cattle cross on the other end where you go out the other gate, which actually I think there was one there now with the gate. But and it would go out over by them buildings, and you don't have to get into the real secure area. Wouldn't have to go through the guard shack or anything. But I'm sure River Ridge would want a guard be there while anything was open. But but that location there would actually be the best location because they don't have to wind on around, because they go out the other locations, they'll actually go where my cows are at. And and I got cattle gates there, but that we could cross these there, but it kind of winds around. You got to go through the guard shack and close to the igloo field.
Is that the exit that you're talking about where your cattle are at? Is that at the end of New Chapel where, where there's already some concrete barricades there, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Well, and there's
a
already
gate there.
residential area there. Where we're talking about, there's no residential area there. So there's no interruption to residents at all.
That gate don't line up with our road.
Okay.
And I talked to Jerry Acey back when he first came about putting an emergency exit there, and I told him I'd pay for connecting the roads, and he said he would move the gate, but that never happened. And I went to him twice and reiterated that to him. Said, yeah, we'll have to get that done, but it never happened. And one time we did have an emergency there, and we had to pay for some damages that was done with cars that went out that way because they got locked in there.
Right, to a property owner
Yeah,
there.
and I think they had a tree or something across the road, and no emergency vehicles went in. And River Ridge did open it up that one time, but they had to go across his yard.
Charlie Thompson.
And and we had to pay for damages in his yard to do that. And that's why I told Jerry if we'd move that gate over, if he'd pay for moving the gate over, I'd pay for putting the street in there and connect them. But that's really not a very good area, because of the fact that it's right on the backside of the igloo field, and it winds around such a way, and it's kind of where Goldman they used that entrance to do the work they were doing back through there. But it has to go all through there where I got all my cows, and you just got to really wind around, and you can get lost in there if you didn't know where you was going. So
On the proposed, Terry, on that road, or Dan, you may know best too, on that proposed emergency exit, on the road that's existing there now, what type of improvements would have to be done there to
I
allow?
don't know if you'd have to do a whole lot other, maybe just put a little gravel down a few little spots, and then to connect that road to Crystal Springs, we'd have to put the width of the lot would have to be rocked, and it would have to put a gate in, and then we'd have to rock another little area from the fence to the road, which isn't too far, and then they could go around and there's, like I said, it used to be asphalt, but I mean, it's deteriorated asphalt. And then on the other side of the gate, where it connects that to the parking lot back there, is a lot of times it's hard to find the road because it's, we could probably just put some gravel on it to get by. I mean, the asphalt's kind of deteriorated, grass has kind of growed up through it.
I was gonna say, when I looked today, it was kind of muddy and rutted, and I thought, I don't know if you're gonna be able to get most cars out of that road, but
Yeah, well, it would have to be some improvement, but if you go to the left side of that road and try to make another road there, you kind of get into a wetlands area, and it's real wet, and it's hard to get up through there, and you'd have to build a lot of road. This here, you wouldn't have to build a lot of road, and like I say, just temporary, I think you'd probably get by with just a little bit of rock and put in that area there. And and I know, speaking from a developer's standpoint, we would have no problem of, helping out on that situation and putting some rock down if we can get permission from River Ridge. I think that's the biggest issue, is if River Ridge is letting us do it. And like I say, we're willing to have a homeowner association, or we'll pay for it, whatever, for the guard to sit there, if we have an emergency situation. And, but I really think that would be the best emergency situation for the next couple of years, because the Boulder Creek situation is a temporary right now because you can still get out that way, but it's coming close here within the next couple of months of starting the construction, and you're not going to go out that way. So that's just really temporary. So
Dan, where are you on the agreement with Walsh?
we sent the proposal they sent to me last week. I sent that back to them and for their review, and they've got to go through a process with the state to get the state to approve. And so that's, I think it's in that process right now.
Okay.
So as soon as that, and I had a few things on the contract that kind of need to be changed just a little bit, but there wasn't no big items. But and one of them was the biggest one for me was a truck. It was mentioned truck traffic tearing the road up. I had to maintain it, and I said no, because I didn't want no truck coming in our subdivision. And so that was really about the main thing that I disputed. But and I haven't heard back from on the comments that I made, and I marked up the contract and sent it back to them, made comments on it. So I'm waiting back for their comment. But I think the real issue right now is the state has to go to the state, and the state's got to get it approved. And then the other issue is that we'll have to build a road, and we have to have it built, because that temporary road that's in there now, gravel that I put in there, I actually moved one of the houses when we wrecked for the houses for the highway, and I moved one of the houses to Crystal Springs that I gave my daughter, and I moved it across there, and I rocked the road just to get the house in there in case it rained that day. So that's what's there now.
That's why it's there.
And Dan, while you're up here, is there anything else you need to add? Because you did sign up for public comment. Have you touched on everything you needed to speak on?
No, that's all I wanted
Okay.
to talk about that.
Thank you.
But I mean, that's all we're asking for.
Terry, real quick, the wreck that was there on Sunday, that was actually between Lincier Trace and Otay Bridge, correct?
Right.
Okay. So there could be a time where you're talking about letting Crystal Springs out in emergency. In a situation like that, it would actually be some of Lincier Trace may have to use that access also
Yeah.
to get out.
Well, can't Lincier Trace, can they not, well, no, they can't go through.
They've just got a
Steeple
little, I
Trace.
mean, it's
Yeah.
not as necessary as, well, yeah, I mean, if there needs to
Could
be
be.
access into it.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, that's all we're asking for. And like I said, I've been out there for 10 years. These 3 occasions are the only ones, well, I think we've had one other occasion where there was an accident on that hill, and that's been at least,
Somebody was killed.
yeah, like maybe 2009, 2008, something like that, where there was an accident on that hill. But 4 times in 10 years,
Oh.
you know, we may not ever need it.
But we need to be prepared.
Exactly.
To
Terry,
hire an ambulance.
I appreciate you bringing this, sharing this with us, because those of us that don't go back there that often aren't aware of when it is closed or what. But
Right.
just to make you aware and others aware, because we don't have access, we don't own, the city council can't wave our wand and say it's going to
Right,
happen.
right.
But we can try to use our influence with River Ridge, and the administration can try to use their influence with River Ridge.
And that's all we're asking.
And I think what you're asking for makes sense. Certainly, some of us will try to use our influence, and I'm not speaking for the administration, but certainly we can try to get
That's
River
all
Ridge to
we're
the
asking.
table and see. And
And we keep in
We'll do that.
contact with Walsh, so we'll just ask, keep us updated on the progress of the agreement, too.
Right, because, like Dan said, once they even come to an agreement, we have to hold community meetings, and from what I understand from Dan, the communities have to basically agree with what they propose before they'll even, let the contract go forward. So, that could hold it up even longer.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, I have Brenda Evans. Did you still want to speak? Brenda Evans? Okay.
She said she didn't need it.
What about Kevin Evans? Does he need to speak? Okay, okay. Mayor, that's all that wanted to speak on that, if you want to come back up.
If it's okay, I'm curious, Waverly Road, I know Bob and talk to this gentleman here. Okay, so I was just curious how many residents from Waverly Road we had.
Actually, I'm here to speak on behalf of the residents of Waverly Road, if you'd let me.
Oh, well,
I'm happy to let her speak first.
Okay.
Is now
Okay,
okay?
yes, that's fine. We have Karen Wingington that's going to speak on behalf of Waverly Road.
My name is Karen Wigginton. I'm here speaking on behalf of the residents. My father, Robert Miller, has lived there for over 20 years. The residents of Waverly Road have been plagued for years with flooding. This is not an unusual sight that they see out their door. This is their yards. This is their life. Most recently, on December 21st, it happened again. 4 foot of water, again. Damaging their properties, destroying their homes. Same problems over and over again. For years, my father's been here asking for you all to do your job. He's addressed the city council, he's addressed the sewer board, he's addressed each of you individually, he's talked to Mayor Galligan, both his terms, Mayor Ways, and even Mayor Moore. There were promises to maintain the property. Every time there's promises made to fix this. We've even had the EPA out when neighboring businesses and oil leaking into the flooding waters were soaking into their yards and their property. When Southeast Christian Church was built, again, promises were made to upgrade the system, that it wouldn't cause a problem for the residents. Have a letter from Ed Z back in 2011 where he says, I want to follow up on the promise made to you at the meetings I attended. There's letters from Andy Crouch about what needs to be done, how we're going to clear out that ditch, and we're going to take care of that debris. And here's when they cut it all down and they leave it. So then when it rains, it's still left there. I could flood you with documents and photographs, no pun intended, of all the damage that these families have suffered. When the city officials come out and they're supposed to clean up this area to prevent this flooding, to protect their homes, that's what they leave behind. Then when the rain comes, drain pipes are all clogged. Because, the truck didn't come back out and pick up all the debris that they cut. And the promises that they made that we're going to take care of this for you. Mayor Moore even told one of the residents that he could put a for sale sign in his yard. That's the opposite side of the ditch, where if this were maintained and the water was flowing away from their homes, maybe they wouldn't be experiencing structural damage that they now have. For 4 foot of water over and over again that they keep having in their homes. And the growth that, regardless of the season, is still there. the mold that is getting under their homes, causing health issues and constant damages. One city official indicated to my dad that there was a planned retention basin. If it's not maintained any more than this ditch already is, that this drainage area already is, it's not going to be a solution to this problem. That debris that's not been cleaned up, that's your fault. This last flood could have been avoided. The continued damages to these people's homes could have been avoided. All they've gotten is promises and letters and documents and phone calls, and we'll take a look at it. And they send somebody out, and then they cut the debris down, they leave, they're gone. 6 months later, is anybody there? No. But these people can't even go on vacation or go to sleep at night knowing that if it starts raining really hard, how many cars do they have to move? What do they have to get up off the ground? What else is going to be damaged? They're not in a flood zone. They can't get flood insurance. So they need your help. They don't need promises. They need for you all to do your job. They need for you to make it stop. I understand you can't control Mother Nature and you can't control the rain. You can maintain this ditch. You can fulfill the promises that you've made and protect these residents. We've contacted a private engineer, and we've also contacted an attorney. So the time for promises is over. They need for you to do something, and they need to see your actions, and they need for this to stop. We're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that these families have lost, not just in personal belongings, not in just damaging their homes, damaging their property. But you've taken away their peace of mind that they can't even go to sleep at night or go away for a week on vacation. Because when they come home, what might be left? This is your responsibility to maintain this area, the resources that you have available to make them work. So I would like to thank you for your time and just express upon you that you need to do your job. These residents don't want to have to see you in court, but they will. Karen?
We can't do anything anyway.
I know.
Can't say anything.
Well, I appreciate those comments, but I will say right now, it is not the city council's fault. So if you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at me. But you said yourself, this problem has been there for 20 years. And I did speak to your father, Bob Miller, on several occasions, and I did make a promise. Said, we're going to fix this problem. And Bob, I told you to go to a drainage board meeting about 6 or 7 weeks ago and make sure the drainage board, not the city council, but the drainage board, who most people are paying $3.50 a month to fix drainage problems in the city. That is the tool that fixes these problems. At that meeting, the drainage board voted to fix your problem. About 2 weeks later, we had a heavy, heavy rain, and you gave me a call about 11:30 on Saturday night to let me know it was raining. I promise you, when it's raining, I know it's raining. And I said, Bob, you know, we voted to fix your problem, but it can't be fixed in the dead of winter, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. And if somebody's got a suggestion, I'm all ears. But we pay engineers to come up with solutions. The city engineer is sitting in the back of the room right now, and what we would like to do is we would like to purchase the back 4 properties. If they don't want to, ma'am, that's their choice. I'm not big government here that's going to tell them they have to. But if we want to fix this problem, that's what the engineers, and I believe in listening to the experts. If I got a legal problem, I listen to my attorney. If I got a drainage problem, I listen to my engineer. Now, you all may have a different way of fixing the problem. If you do, please present it. But I believe in hiring engineers to come up with solutions, and they're saying the best way to fix this problem is to purchase the back 4 properties and make a large retention pond. Now, the problem, and I'm not an engineer, but if you go on Waverly Road, you will see homes sit below street level. Foundations sit below street level. It's in a bowl. Southeastern Christian Church called me that same weekend that you did, Bob. Their parking lot was underwater. And I know a lot of people on Waverly Road say Southeast Christian flooded us out. That ground is like this. Water won't run, whether if it's right here on this side of the street or if it's on this side of the street. It doesn't run if it's on level ground. And I don't know how long those homes have been there. I've been around Jeff almost 50 years, and as far back as I can remember, there's been homes over there. So we're not dealing with a new development. But again, you got suggestions, I'd love to have them. I would like to also get a neighborhood meeting over there, and I'm hoping the people of Waverly Road are available. We're clear on February 20th. If that's a good day with you all, we'd love to meet with you. It's not a good day?
Good. I'd like you to read that letter while you're up there.
Well, if you've hired an attorney, I can tell you the next thing my attorney is going to say, don't speak.
Letter, but just the comment of 6 weeks ago at a drainage board meeting, okay, this is from your city engineer in 2011.
Okay.
Ma'am, I wasn't the mayor in 2011.
Whoa.
I understand.
I made a promise, I was going to fix it. I'm doing everything I can to fulfill that promise. But if you all are not interested in fixing it the way our engineer says, please come up with another suggestion. We'll listen.
Mayor,
It's hard for me to fulfill a promise if you all are not willing to help.
Mayor, while we're on this subject, I did ask Andy Crouch to be here. Would it be okay if we bring him up here with you now? Because Andy can fill in, because I can assure he's the liaison for the Drainage Board. This is in the Stormwater Master Plan. We do have members of the Drainage Board. Andy, can you just kind of fill the public and the mayor and the council in and where we're at and all of this, please?
Sure. I mean, they're absolutely right. We have known that this has been a problem for some time. We've had multiple engineers look at it over, I've been here 5.5 years, and there were studies and things done before I was ever here, I believe by Jacoby Toombs and Lands. We've looked at multiple options. We've looked at storage upstream in terms of detention. We've looked at options downstream. We've looked at revising and modifying the culverts underneath the railroad. I think you saw those on the plans earlier. It's our belief, collectively, as the multiple engineers that have looked at it, that enlarging the culverts underneath that railroad right-of-way is not a solution. I think that's evident from the last few rainfalls that we saw, which was flooded downstream. Okay, the water was backed all the way up. It wasn't moving. I wasn't out there that night, but we did have personnel out there. The water wasn't moving. It was backed all the way up. It was flooded downstream at Southeast Christian. So it's our belief that the best option here is to remove the homes from the areas that are being flooded. That's the route of pursuit that we're headed.
Andy, she showed us pictures and brought up in this recent rain where debris was left. Has that been addressed with the drainage crew?
It has been. We typically, when we go out and mow, it's just short grass, and we typically do leave that. They did that same thing here. The debris that was left was too large, and some of it I'm sure did sweep down.
How many houses are we talking about if we had to go in and purchase these homes?
We are looking at the first 4 to 6 at this point, at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Right at the very
when I say
bottom.
first, I don't mean near Hamburg Pike. I mean toward the end of the cul-de-sac where it's lower, on a voluntary basis.
Obviously.
So I just have a question.
Hold, please. I'll let you. Let's let Andy finish and then I'll, okay.
So we're looking at a purchase buyout option, voluntary buyout option of those. If that were to work out so that we could voluntarily buy those out, then we would be looking at putting in a detention basin in that area just to hold some of the water coming off of the truck facility next door. There's a lot of water coming off that right away, off that pavement, I mean.
And I know the mayor said about neighborhood meeting, but I was under the impression, and I think the letters are set to go out
They're ready.
to organize a meeting or to get a meeting together.
Absolutely.
At those, okay. Mayor, did you want to add anything before I allow her to speak?
No, I think everybody in this room sympathizes with your problem.
I don't think you do. Until you're 4 foot in water, you have a mother who's ill, getting over breast cancer, and you gotta wonder, how are you gonna get her out of her home?
And that's what
How can you keep her healthy?
That is what we're trying to do.
No, you're trying to make a
Yeah, you
larger
need to-
hole. So I got
Karen.
standing water in what's there now. And
You
wanna
know,
make it bigger.
ma'am, I'm not going to argue with
Yeah,
you.
you
I'm not an
can't get
expert on
together.
engineering.
I know this tensions can be a little high, and I know we have back and forth, but I don't,
You know, now with the threat of litigation, I would caution city council, the administration, and the mayor to avoid a back and forth. Those litigations threatened, attorneys are mentioned.
So we can take from here that letters have been sent out. There is an option of a meeting that's going to be set up, and out of that meeting, we hope that this situation is going to be addressed and discussed. So we can leave it
We
at
are,
that.
we are hoping, we know what the engineers have said, what they believe fixes it. If this will give the neighbors an opportunity, if they've got another idea, we'd love to hear it. But it's gotta have something with scientific backing. And, you know, if people are unwilling to sell their homes, I don't blame them. But that's how we can fix the problem, or at least that's what our experts have said. This is how you fix it.
We recently had, the Drainage Board recently completed a 2-year master plan study for stormwater for the entire city. They hired a consultant that had done the stormwater master plan for the state of Indiana. We feel like they're pretty good experts. And they said the same thing. Your options there are buyouts or do floodproofing. And by floodproofing, they just mean raising structures, retrofitting some doors and windows and things like that just to keep the water out. There aren't a lot of options there.
Moving on.
okay, I'm going to let Grant come up. He is a Drainage Board member, and this actually is his district, because I know Ed goes out there just about every time it rains, because I see him out there, and just let them know where we're at in the process with drainage.
I'm Grant Morton. I'm treasurer of the Drainage Board. I've been on it since the first day they had it. I understand what Bob's problem and the problem out there is. We've looked at it, and we authorized at our December meeting for Andy and Matt Bell to contact the members and the homeowners down there on Waverly Drive to see them if we could have a meeting with them. What we wanted from that meeting was we wanted to have the homeowners in there offer us their property to if we could come in and appraise it, get some way to appraise it. We like to buy, we don't know how many, we know we need at least 4 on the end for a retention pond. We maybe need 6, we maybe need 8 residents in there. But then, before they got that meeting, we understand that you hired an attorney, and we're going to have an attorney here tonight. So we said we backed off, and they backed off with asking you for a homeowners meeting. We cannot condemn those properties. We can't take it with a right or whatever you call it, but we can't do it. So unless the homeowners agree down there to sell their properties on it, we can't do anything in there other than we will get the ditch cleaned, but the ditch cleaning is not going to take care of your problem. And we can only get it so far. We can maybe put a paved ditch behind the First Christian Church all the way over to Veterans Parkway, but that still isn't getting it because all you're doing is moving some a little bit further down there. And the retention pond, we've looked at this since you've been in, I guess, 4 or 5 years on it. And we do have the money to buy property. If they don't gouge us on it, we need to have them appraised and what have you. But we have to have, if we have one person that won't sign it, there's nothing we can do within that. Now, we can get it cleaned, and I'll work with Andy, and we'll get on Rod and not have that problem, make sure those pipes coming underneath the railroad, but opening that up to a box culvert or anything out there is still not going to resolve their problems. The mayor said it right. Their property is below the street. A lot of the water's coming in off the street, which backs up from the far end, and some of it from the trucking company, I guess, that's up there in the far end. But we have looked at it. We spent time in it. We're willing to move forward from a drainage board. Not you guys. Nothing to do with this with it. The mayor's behind us, I guess. So
And Grant,
If you've got an attorney and you're going to have attorney representative, if he would come to our board and meet with us, we'd be glad to do it, but it has to be voluntary, and we need a minimum of the 4 on the cul-de-sac, but I don't know how far back up there.
Grant, will you
So-
please verify so they do know, because you are a board member?
I did say that.
But no, we do, well, not we, but you guys, every meeting I know ever since that last flood in December, and it was moved up on the list, is not Waverly Road discussed just about every drainage board meeting?
Yeah, but I understand that
I don't want them to think we've been
we haven't done
neglected.
anything which they want, but that's where we are now. And if you're going to get an attorney, then have the attorney represent you, and we'll meet with the attorney. If we want, if we can get it, but we have to have all the, especially ones on the 4 end. I think it's only going to take 4, maybe 6, but
But Grant,
I don't know, and I don't know.
The last 2 houses were set for sure.
Yeah, but we have to, we can't.
Grant,
I'm just saying, if we can't, let's get a meeting, the mayor said that, let's.
Grant.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's my job to
I
keep
get
control. I don't mean to be
emotional,
mean.
so, that's,
But since this has been brought to the city council, can you come back, maybe a drainage board member or something, come back within a month and just kind of give us an update, just
I'd
so
be
we
glad
can
to.
keep...
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Keep it on the radar.
Thanks, Grant. Was there anybody else that wanted to speak
There was
about
nobody
Waverly?
else that was signed.
Still getting our letters?
They're coming out tomorrow.
We're the last 4.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can sit down and talk, but really, this whole conversation needs to be with everybody. We'll get through it, you know. We'll do it when the media's not around. We'll get some things done. One last thing I wanted to speak about. You all had asked redevelopment, it's been several months back, to have a study done on the Colston Park, Play Square Park. That study came back clear, first 120 feet, no dead bodies. It's extremely developable land. We've got a developer, a local company, who's got a resume a mile long of good quality work. They're extremely interested. I think they have met with almost all, if not all, council members with a plan. They have bought the old Rose Hill Elementary. They are in the midst of refurbishing that. They would like to develop, and I think they've shown you all the plans that they would like to develop on that property, and they have met with the Rose Hill neighborhood, and everybody seems to be very, very excited about their plan. This was the piece of paper we were anticipating and waiting for, so we've got that, and you know, I would entertain this board, you know, you all, Parks Authority, the city council, has the deed to that property. I don't believe anybody is interested in developing the property beyond 120 feet. So there's still a huge park back there, playground, community building, basketball court, plenty of green space. But I would like to see this board take an action with that property. And you know, right now there's no tax dollars whatsoever generated from that property, and we've got an opportunity here to see a $10 million development right there at the foot of Big Four Bridge, as the ramp as they come off, and we got local developers ready to do it. I'd love to see something get started there this spring.
Do you think it would behoove us maybe to sit down, you know, as the park authority with redevelopment, who really should be taking the lead on a project like that, and kind of look over what is being proposed and, you know, see if that's the way we want to move forward, if we want to, even if we just parcel a piece of the property, that first 120 feet off, and, you know, move forward with a development there if there's interest in,
Are you talking about a workshop?
yeah.
Is that a
I
motion?
was going to say, I'd like to have an open public meeting, and we can allow the reporter there for that.
Well, workshops are public.
Well, I'll make that motion, that we have we have a joint workshop with redevelopment to discuss the first 120
We don't
feet.
need redevelopment there. It belongs to the parks, and we, as authority, we can sell the property.
We could sell it, or we could, I don't think the Parks Department really does redevelopment, though. I would rather, piece that off to them and let them work with a
Depends on
contractor.
what you want to do.
Right.
I mean,
We just talked about needing money for a building.
I don't,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'll second that motion. At least the conversation will start moving forward, so I'll
Right.
second that motion and we'll figure all that out now.
And I think redevelopment would entertain the idea of purchasing that property from the Parks Authority. So,
I think that's something.
if you will,
I would like to see it because I wasn't able to be there when they had that meeting.
Okay.
So it would be nice to have a
They are-
workshop just so I can see the...
they are extremely excited. They really wanted to develop the property at 10th and Spring. They didn't get that. Like I said, these are local guys who have done a ton of work in Louisville, downtown Louisville, in New Albany, huge track record. I think most of you all have met with them and you know the type of work they do, but first-rate company. Eric Goodman and Alan Muncie at ARC. We don't need to leave that property vacant any longer. It's too desirable.
Do a joint workshop before our council meeting, either the 3rd or the 17th.
Is this going to be, can I make an, I want to clear, is this going to be a Parks Authority workshop or a council
Would be
workshop?
Parks
Be
Authority.
Parks Authority.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well,
When is
say
that?
I could tell you that I have talked to those developers who are interested, and they are talking, they're still putting a concept together, and I know they talked to Shane Corbin too, from planning and zoning, and and they've talked to the neighbors and everything, and they were planning on coming to a Parks Authority meeting to kind of present what some of their thoughts are about it. But there's a process, in selling property that you have to follow. But we could always hear what they had to say, but at the end of the day, I think you have to offer it to...
Yeah, there's a different procedure for parks.
And I think we have to understand
Parks
that.
just have to do like the highest bidder.
It has to be
You
high-
can't do the RFP process the way of redevelopment.
It would be much easier for redevelopment to deal with a developer, but certainly we don't want to leave the Parks Authority out with, you all have got a piece of property there, it's got some value to it. But again, as far as City of Jeffersonville is concerned, it's not generating any tax dollars now, and we've got an opportunity to put something extremely pleasing to the community that's going to generate a lot of tax dollars. And I do believe it would be, I think the redevelopment board would like to be a part of that conversation and like to hear and listen. But it's certainly your all's lead. But if we could set something up jointly and get something down on paper, right now, it's talk. We've all heard things, we've met with them. Let's hold a public meeting and put this in front of everybody and let's see what we've got.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second for a workshop with redevelopment and Parks Authority. So is there any further discussion?
What's the deadline, or what are you trying to shoot for here? Because I didn't hear that date.
Well,
Can we go for before our next council meeting,
which will
That's
be on
next
the
week.
18th,
which will be,
Tuesday the 18th.
well, we do February the 3rd, between now and then. I'd say the 18th would be good. Get everybody a chance to get their ducks in a row.
Time?
5:30, how long do you think we'll need, an hour?
I think an hour is sufficient.
February the 18th.
I hate to push to go right into council, so I'd like 5:30 if that's...
5:30, does that work with you all, 5:30?
I mean,
5:30? Okay.
I think we need to have some more discussion about who's going to...
Do we want to meet in the mayor's conference room instead of here?
It'd be probably easier. I don't know if they would have something, that's
I'm
fine.
just thinking that everyone can sit around the table.
Okay.
Are you all calling it, or is it...
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Is that
Okay.
5:30,
Motion
February 18th?
carries to have it on January, which is Tuesday the 18th at 5... Oh, February,
the
sorry.
18th.
February.
February, what time?
In the mayor's
5:30.
conference room.
Prior to our council meeting at 7.
Because I think drainage board, isn't that, it would be down here, but I think the drainage board is at that time, so.
We'll find.
I'm not on the drainage board, are you?
Well, we said we're going to be in the workshop's going
Yeah,
to be in the mayor's
Scott's
conference.
just saying he
Scott
may
just
have
said,
to.
yeah,
but Scott
that's
won't be
fine.
able to be there.
Turn out have to be at that meeting unless,
Oh,
because I go back and forth between the drainage board and your all's meeting, so.
So the motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
All right, unfinished business, Kim Calabro, 2014 OR1, an ordinance fixing the salaries of appointed officers and employees of all departments for the year 2014.
Same as last time, nothing's changed, so do you want me to go over it again, or?
I can't even remember what it was about, actually.
Has anything changed, nothing has changed, Kim?
No.
And it's, did we approve it on the first or second
Yes,
reading?
on the first reading. I think tonight was just for the second and third reading.
Motion
This
to,
is the drainage and the wastewater conversation we had?
Yes.
motion to approve on second and third reading? Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve 2014 OR1 and the second and third reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Amy Deering, 2014 OR2, an ordinance transferring certain funds from the same department.
Requesting approval of 2014 OR2. It's my understanding this is approved on one reading at the last meeting. I wasn't present. No changes have been made.
Yeah, we've had, I think several may have met with the fire department, and they're putting together a package on some bids and stuff on the Lowit money yet, so I just approve this on the second reading until they get their numbers together, if that would be okay.
Second.
Second, yes, sir.
What was this
Second.
for, Mike? I wasn't here at the last meeting.
On the Lowit,
The
the fire,
Lord, what are they looking for out of the Lord? Oh, the improvements to Station
Yeah.
5, I think it's.
Yeah.
well, it's kind
and-
of, well, downtown, and they, actually, it's a little bit scattered, so we just asked that they get some bids and prices and package it together, and,
Yeah, Dennis requested a price list and a priority list.
yeah.
Just one question before we move forward. If, at the next meeting, they don't have their quotes back or their plan back, then that's going to delay the other items.
Well, I would vote to remove it because they said that they would have them, and if they don't, I would move on the third reading to do everything but that. Me.
Okay.
I mean, I would separate it out. Is that,
Well, or we could remove it tonight, and then if they bring it back,
I'm thinking,
Won't
so
do
we
that?
can go ahead
then
and get
put it
these
back
others
on next
done.
time. And then that's kind of a
Debt
little
payment.
pressure to come back with the quotes and their plan.
whatever you...
Kind of the
that's
same
fine.
thing,
Yeah,
but-
okay.
So you recall your motion?
I'll rescind my motion, and I'll make another motion that we pass everything but the Lowit, the $140,000 for the fire department, and that they are putting together a package when they get it to us.
And we can put
On
that
the
back
second
in.
and third reading.
Okay.
On the second and third, or just...
Second and third on everything but the Lowit for the fire.
So we would just remove those two.
Yes.
Remove the last two.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Did I have a second?
A second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second for 2014 OR2 be passed on the second and third reading with the removal,
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
with the removal of the Deloitte for the fire department, the $140,000. Any further discussion?
Yes. I think if I'm following procedurally, if we do it like it was just said, if it passes on second and third tonight, then we got to start over. Is that correct?
Yes. For the other.
So if we just...
That shouldn't be a problem.
If we just... Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because they,
Making
If
sure.
you need it that bad, you can suspend
Okay.
the rules and pass it on off.
yeah, if it's emergency.
Gotcha.
It shouldn't be. It's just
I just-
cosmetic, most of
I'm
it.
with you. Okay. Just making sure of that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have council appointments. Scott, can we, on the drainage board, since we've got multiple appointments, do we have to do them individually, or can do all four at once?
It's up to you all. It's however you want to handle it.
I know my appointment's up for Charlie Bryant, so I'd like to reappoint Charlie Bryant to the drainage board. Councilperson Smith, I think yours is up.
Dan Christensen, I spoke with him. He still would like to, be on the board as well.
And I talked to Zach, and he sent me a text before the meeting. He did talk with his appointment, Rick Madden, and he wishes to reappoint Rick Madden.
Okay.
And I think, Brian, yours?
Yes, and I spoke to Kurt Jacobs, and he'd like to serve again, so no changes.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Charlie Bryant, Dan Christian, Kurt Jacobs, and Rick Madden to the Drainage Board.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to reappoint the 4 members to the Drainage Board. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the appointment to the UEZ.
I have spoke to Peggy Hardaway and Warren Shemp. The only one that I've sent emails to is Miguel Hampton, and I haven't gotten anything back from him, but I would like to go ahead and appoint him as well, and if you don't, we can take him off, but he's pretty active in the UEZ in the past, so I don't know if my emails didn't get to him, or, I don't want to, but...
I remember, I think I sent out an email to the council. Miguel and Peggy are our resident appointments to the UEZ, and they are supposed to be of different political affiliations. And unfortunately, they are both registered Democrats. I do have somebody in mind who's very interested in serving, that is a Republican, but I don't know who we would not want to reappoint. But I think we do have to make a change for the makeup of UEZ.
Well, I'll just make a motion to start off Peggy Hardaway. I really didn't know her political, either one of them, I don't know any of them political affiliation, to be honest with you, but I'd make a motion to Peggy Hardaway to finish 2014, or start 2014 in UEZ.
Who's yours?
So I've got Stephanie Garner. She lives on Riverside Drive, down by Jeff Boat. Her and her husband have lived in the zone, first on Market and now on Riverside, I think for the last 19 years, she said. She's anxious to get involved if she can.
And what's her background?
She does, she works in sales for an extended stay hotels, but also has a lot of contacts with some of the smaller businesses downtown.
Scott, could you confirm that that's the requirement?
I did look that up, but just to clarify what Matt said, though, technically in Indiana, you don't register as either Democrat or Republican. When you register to vote, you don't register as a political affiliation. So the way those statutes, when they refer to political affiliation, it's how you voted in the most recent, usually the most recent primary.
Well,
So
okay, they've both voted Democrat in the most recent primaries.
that's one thing when you figure out someone's affiliation, you need to look at their voting record.
Right.
Because you
Which
don't
I-
register one way or the other, you just register generally to vote.
Right.
And you vote either in a Republican or Democratic primary.
Right.
I'll
That's determined.
I'll second Mike Smith's appointment, or motion for Peggy Hardaway.
And I'll second Matt's appointment of Stephanie Garner for his appointment also.
And then Warren Shemp, of course, he's a business rep, so I don't know his political affiliation, so
I don't know.
I don't guess it matters.
Didn't check on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
The two have to almost be a business. Yeah, but the two residents, I mean, that's correct, it has to be opposite affiliation, depending on how you vote. in the
Okay.
primary, So he is correct about that.
So then, Mike, did you motion for Warren? as
Warren,
well?
yes, to
I'll
be the
second
business
that.
rep.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to appoint Peggy,
Hardaway.
Hardaway, Stephanie Gardner, and Warren Shrimp.
That's correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And now we have appointment for the Police Merit Commission. I believe we have one appointment for that needs to be replaced.
One
Do
appointment.
I have any nominees?
I haven't talked to anybody. Has anybody?
I think Dennis had talked to some.
I've talked to a couple who didn't want it.
You want to table that for now and see if he talked to, I think I don't know who the person was, but if you don't
Wait for
have
Dennis.
anybody, we
Is
can
that a
wait.
motion?
I'll make a motion to, just hold up on that, and then we'll see.
I'll second.
Okay.
Make a second on the holdup.
Got a motion and a second on a holdup.
Hold
No,
up.
to table the appointment for the Police Merit Commission.
Mhm.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We got an appointment for the Redevelopment Commission. Do we have any nominees?
I spoke to Derek Spence. I don't know if he spoke to several of you all. Derek has been on redevelopment in the past, and he's worked with our other representative, and I just make a motion to appoint Derek Spence to redevelopment.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to appoint Derek Spence to the redevelopment commission. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to new business, we got Scott Lewis for a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Jeff and the Jeffersonville Firefighter Local 558.
Sorry, this resolution is going to be attached to the fire agreement. Sorry, this didn't get in the packet, but if you remember the resolution that we passed when we approved the FOP agreement, this is the exact same language, except we're just using the name of the firefighters union, whatever that's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah. I know we got some of the council members from the negotiating team, but in essence, the negotiating team has finalized the negotiations with the Jeffersonville Firefighters Local Union with the collective bargaining agreement. And pursuant to the procedure, what the negotiating team is requesting is for the council by resolution to approve the negotiated agreement, subject to, the same as we did with the FOP, it's still subject to a vote of approval by the firefighters union, and of course, subject to approval by the mayor as the executive for the city. My understanding is, I believe the firefighters union is supposed to be voting this week, correct?
Correct.
And I think they're doing the multi-day vote, the same with the FOP. I can't remember how many days, but I think it's supposed to end on Friday. Is that right, Lisa? Or
Yeah, I was just
31st?
told they'll be voting on it this week.
This
so
week.
they have
I thought I
3 days,
saw
and by
that-
the end of the week, they'll be...
I think, yeah, because the way
Because I
they
was
do it,
concerned to get it in within
the 10-day period
Right.
for the mayor to sign. So my understanding is that their vote is to be completed Friday the 31st, is my understanding.
I'll make a motion to approve
And what resolution number? are we on?
Resolution 2014 R1.
R1. Okay, that's right. First.
Wow.
Did they correct that speech, that wording in it? I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second for the approval of 2014 R1. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Yeah. When I looked at the fitness standard on page 45, I didn't understand what that meant. Can somebody maybe from the board tell me what that means? The fitness testing and standards of December 2013 established and agreed to by and between the chief and the union and attested by the city council negotiating team shall remain in full force.
There, I'm trying to recall, Ed, because I get it confused with the other, but the way we had it set up is they were still trying to do the work performance evaluation, get something cranked up with that. I think the chief or the assistant chief had worked on that, and that was agreeable to us. I'm not sure if it was agreeable yet to the firefighters, and we said if it's not agreeable to them by the vote, then it's the current one we have, the push-ups, sit-ups. We said we have to have something to remain in there as a placeholder. It was
We'll agree on a new one then.
big contention, yeah, big issue. But that's what it was, is we wanted to make sure that something got, as more of a placeholder than anything. But we'll see.
Will we, Nathan, if they do adopt a new one, I mean, I know it'll be voted for, but will we see a copy of what will be
Yes,
adopted?
should.
And overall, any comments about the increase in, salaries or the cost of this contract? I know there was an executive session, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to make that, so maybe some of those details.
I think it changed since then, didn't it?
The total
The
cost
parity?
was approximately $100,000, is what it may have been, no. Do you remember 90? Y'all remember? The cost for the fire contract, it was $90,000 to $100,000, I believe, was what it cost us on the front end. But there's we felt some significant trade-offs. The overtime came back from 40 to 56 hours, some different language in that, and there's a number of things that were tightened up that that we feel much better about. But,
Well, thank you much, and I really appreciate everybody on that negotiation team. I know how much time it takes.
2 years.
Thank you for doing all that.
Okay, any other further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I'm sending around the resolution 320 you ought to sign, and then also the negotiation team, if you go ahead and sign.
Got Les Merkley, an ordinance to establish 213 Jackson Street as a single-site historic district.
This comes in front of you, or before you, as a favorable recommendation from the Historic Commission, requesting that the City Council designate 213 Jackson Street as the Duffy House Historic District. This historic district requires council approval. This would only be one house or one site in this historical district. This is noticed for a public hearing because that's required both under ordinance and state statute. Laura Renwick from Indiana Landmarks, who serves on the Historic Board, is here. I'll invite her to come up. Maybe she can describe a little more about the historical significance of this house. But I would remind the chair that at some point this needs to be opened up for a public hearing.
Hello, thank you all for having us here and considering this. I'm here today on behalf of the Preservation Commission. I've got a photo here. I can send it around or put it on here. Just so everyone is familiar with the property. We did have the Preservation Commission had a public hearing on this proposal back in early December. We did not have any members of the public come to speak either for or against the proposal at that time. But this is the property in question. It was built about 1870. It's located on Jackson Street between High Street and Utica Pike, and it occupies a large lot there. The property was built about 1870 for a gentleman, Mr. Duffy, who made a fortune in the coal shipping and river towing business, and eventually bought 200 acres farther up Utica Pike and built the Duffy Wathen house, which unfortunately we lost a few years back. The house is it's individually eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. It's one of the best examples of the Italianate style in the city, and it's remarkably intact. Also, it's been changed very little since its construction. It's got all of its architectural details and embellishments, which is very rare that that's all survived. The Preservation Commission is making this recommendation to you all because the house is in some jeopardy. It had a fire a couple years back, and the roof was not repaired after that fire, so it is taking on water. It's been through the foreclosure process, and Indiana Landmarks was working with the banks to try to acquire it through that process. Unfortunately, we were not able to do so prior to it being sold at sheriff's sale on January 2nd. So Fannie Mae purchased it back. Landmarks intends to go ahead and keep trying to pursue purchasing it, but there's no guarantee that we would get it. And so the Preservation Commission is asking this so that there is some protection to the house. What giving this designation would do would ensure that any exterior alterations to this house would have to be reviewed and approved by the Preservation Commission. Any demolition of the house would have to come through the Preservation Commission for approval, or, any new construction on the site. It is, if you're familiar with the property, it's a large lot, and there is a large empty portion of the property that fronts on Utica Pike, and this proposed district would incorporate that entire parcel. So in a nutshell, that's what the Preservation Commission has based its recommendation to you all on, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
I'll just tell you, I love this house. I drive by it all the time, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I try to picture what it would look like if it had been totally restored, so I support this. Yeah.
So you see Indian Landmarks is attempting to purchase the property?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I guess, okay.
This house, several years ago, the gentleman that owned it tried to do renovation on for several years, and situation happened anyway, he lost it, but it's a beautiful home. It's one of them houses that it's pretty much intact, and of all, we're involved in a lot of these properties, but this would be one, since it's so well intact, that if you're going to save something to keep the appearance, this is one of them you want. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring it up to a minimal standard, but there was a fire several years ago on the back portion of it. It did minimal damage, but it did do damage, so it probably needs to be acted upon as soon as possible, not only to save that, but prevent it from being transients going in it and setting a fire to stay warm and then actually set the building on fire, because that's normally what happens.
One question that I would have is, if we do this designation, then that's going to require the next purchaser to put a lot more money in, to keep it
on the exterior.
To keep it whatever. So it'll require them a lot more money. So the potential buyers, I would think that would narrow the pool down. And then what happens if somebody says, it's going to cost too much money, and it sits with Fannie Mae or whoever forever, it's going to deteriorate even worse if you guys aren't able to purchase it. And because I'm sure you're wanting to purchase it at a very low price. But, I guess I'm just curious, if we lock it down, is it just going to sit there and deteriorate more and more and more? I don't know.
How much it sold on the tax sale?
At the tax sale, it sold for only $1,700. Yeah, Fannie Mae was the only bidder.
So anything Fannie Mae gets over, they'll be...
Usually, I tell you, speaking from experience and choosing to live downtown, most people that would be interested in that structure is interested in the integrity of the house. Like my old home, I'm sure it wouldn't, I don't know how historically correct I've kept everything, but I've done a pretty good job in keeping that appearance of the house. So anybody that really is interested at any way, shape, or form in that house is interested in that and not buying it and doing a bunch of changes to it, because then you're almost wasting your money and spinning your wheels. So
I was going with my next question. I was even shocked at the fact that if I'm the title holder on that, which is Fannie Mae, that something could come in and restrict the property that I own. I was kind of shocked at that, but I know that's where we're going, and I don't disagree, so that's why I didn't even ask my question, but I know where you're going with that, so.
Well, and I will also note in terms of financials, because this is eligible for the National Register, a buyer could get it listed and then be eligible for tax credits to help recoup some of the investment costs, so they could get 20% of what they put into the rehab back as a credit toward their income taxes. So there are some incentives as well to help them offset some of those costs.
Vicki, what is the number on that, please?
Number 3.
Well, do we have to, is this a public hearing?
Yeah.
At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing on 213 Jackson Street. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak, either for or against this? Come on up here to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. What was the ordinance number for this?
Thank you. My name's Bill Keeney. I'm a neighbor to this property. It's sat there empty for a long time now, and it's very deteriorated. It is a beautiful old home, but at this point, it's an eyesore. And my fear is, if you restrict use, it's going to be an eyesore for a longer period. Now, I would point out this house was for sale at the private market for a long time for a nominal amount of money, and it didn't sell. So the likelihood of somebody coming in with rehab on their mind is not very likely. So, excuse me, as a continuance in the neighborhood, I think restricting on what somebody can do with this property is going to be detrimental.
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, I'm going to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to pass 2014 OR 3, establishing 2013 as a single-site historic district.
Second.
On which, yeah.
It's
First and
just one
second.
reading. It's just one reading.
Oh, it's one reading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did.
Laura, I have a question. Since this is a tax sale, I know there's some weird rules, and I know the person who owned the house probably will not come back and try to get it, but it was a tax sale, right? Not a, was it foreclosure sale or a tax sale?
It was a tax sale, I
It was
believe.
a tax sale.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. It was what?
Apparently foreclosure.
Okay, well
I'm
then
sorry.
that's different, so it doesn't
Tax sale, I
matter.
know you get
1 year to,
After it's sold, the owner still has 1 year to redeem it.
Right. I'm sorry. Yes, it was
That's
foreclosure.
Once
Yes.
that foreclosure starts,
Yes.
yeah, you're done.
Yes.
Foreclosed went for about $1,700.
Yeah.
And I guess once we deem this an historic district, then it's deemed an historic district. So after 5 years, to this gentleman's credit, I mean, if it sits there for 5 years, it continues to remain an eyesore for 5 years.
Well, it does open up the option if anybody would be interested in it, that they do get tax credits to borrow money to fix it up versus somebody going in not getting any tax credits. So, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for 2014 OR 3 to establish 213 Jackson Street as a single-site historic district. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We got Amy Daring for an ordinance of additional appropriation.
But we haven't signed this one.
Nobody's got a hold of me about this.
This is an additional appropriation up for first reading. It was advertised for adoption on February 3rd, so I would need at least one approval tonight to get it adopted at the next meeting.
Could you tell us what these are for?
I can. The first line item is to fund ProMedia's contract. The second item is for the homeless task study. $15,000 approved by this board and $15,000 approved by redevelopment. So just half of that cost is coming from your funds. And then the last three items are to get the animal shelter director's salary up to what it was. When we reverted back to the 2013 budget, it wasn't sufficient to cover that salary.
I have a question about the first one. So this for the Pro Media contract. Didn't we already approve that, or didn't they already have money that was sufficient for the Pro Media?
The contract was approved, but the appropriations weren't in place. It happened so late in the year that we weren't able to get the appropriation through. So I think it was agreed to do it in 2014.
Is that the total cost?
Was that the amount we voted on at that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve on the first and second, ordinance 2014 OR 4.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to pass 2014 OR 4 in first and second reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Scott, do you have anything for the city council attorney report?
Nothing for tonight.
We handled public comments, so council comments, Councilperson Smith.
No, I was called today by Jay Ellis. We normally purchase a table for the Jeffersonville Main Street Chili and Brew. It's February 27th for $300. Table of 8, but they can get 9 in there. And this has been going on 9 years, and we have sponsored a table for the last 9 years. So I guess I'd like to. Yeah, it's held at Kai's. And, yes, $300 for table 8, but they can get 9 in there if everybody wants to show.
And usually people transition.
If that's a motion, I'll second it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion we buy a table, or he made a motion to buy a table. I'll
Got
second.
a motion and a second by table for the chili and brew. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
That's it,
Motion
thank you.
carries. Councilperson,
A couple things regarding planning and zoning. I talked to Shane Corbin, our director, and he's, and you may know this, or he may have brought this up one time before, but he's looking at updating our planning and zoning ordinance. And he's planning on doing some of it himself, but they'll probably have to subcontract or contract out some of the work. So I know he will be coming to us for some money to do that. And I do support that. If you look at what our ordinance is compared to, what other communities have and some of the contradictions and frustrations we've had, we need to clarify some of the code. So I just want to let people know that. Still regarding planning and zoning, talked to Shane also about the possibility, and I've talked to Mr. Lewis about the idea of setting up a tree, like in lieu of tree fund, kind of like what we do with sidewalks. When we have developers come, a lot of times they say, oh, there's not enough land here, or the piece of land is such that we can't meet the tree planting or shrub planting requirements. And so, just like in the sidewalks when it's not needed at that given site, they can, in lieu of, put some money into a fund so that we can put sidewalks at that place at a later date or another location in the city that's needed. Trying to do that for green space for trees and shrubbery. Make you all aware of that. And also still regarding planning and zoning, I know Shane had, I don't know if he talked, I don't know who y'all talked to, but I talked to him the other day about all these things, and he talked about how busy they are, especially if they're going to do updates, and he, talking about a need for maybe another employee. And I said, I don't know if that's going to happen, but what he did say is that he was able to get an intern for, he thinks, I don't know if it was 6 months or for the whole time. I think it was 6 months this year. But after that intern, he may come back looking for some money. So I just want to make everybody aware of some of the conversations related to planning and zoning that I've had. That's all. Thanks.
Councilperson Sellers.
Yeah, I received a phone call last week from a lady who volunteers at the animal shelter. So she said that they're having an unusually high rate of baby kittens and puppies earlier than spring. So they are they need a kitten food desperately because they get donations from the stores, but it's usually just bags that have been opened or whatever. So I'm challenging you all to go buy some kitten food and take it to the shelter. I've already done mine. So if you can do that, and they are packed. And the day that I took in the kitten food, someone brought in, maybe I need the puppy, 8 puppies that were half lab and half, what are the real, Shar-Pei. They're going to be huge, but they were really cute. So if anybody needs a puppy, go down there and get one.
Councilperson Glover.
I don't have anything.
Councilperson Nick.
No.
Nothing? Okay. I'd like to acknowledge Major Lynch. Can he please stand? We have a special guest with Major Lynch tonight. He has to do some Eagle Scout work, and he is going to be reporting on the council. So thank you for coming. And what'd you think?
That's good.
Okay, can you
Nice
give us,
politically correct answer.
can you give everybody your name, please? Okay, thank you for coming, and thank you, Major Lynch, for attending and bringing this fine young man to our meeting. Okay. Well, of course, Crystal Springs and Waverly have left the building, but,
No, not quite.
no, not quite?
Oh, they're edging
Oh, they're outside.
They've left the room.
They're waiting for Brian.
Well,
Theories out there.
I will say that I do know that I've personally been out there quite a few times, and Ed's been out there. I usually see him coming or going, and I know it's a tough situation with Waverly because that inch fall, and even when I was on the drainage board, that it's a tough situation, but I just want them to know that their voices are heard, and that's the same way with out there with Crystal Springs. I did have Clark Miles was here. I know that we've gotten phone calls. I know Dennis called me. He's gotten several phone calls that the hill with the ice and stuff that Clark was going to speak on. We just had temperatures where ice wouldn't work. You had to get to a certain, or if the sun came out, so that was a lot. I know the street department worked very hard to get that all cleared off, so.
Question real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's,
Speaking of salt, I just saw the other day where Louisville has ran through a lot of their supplies
that's what I
of
was going to
salt.
ask Clark.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to ask him, but I'm wondering, because then Nathan actually brought up, we were discussing it, that do we have enough salt trucks? How is our salt, the upkeep in our salt trucks? And I know we put down a lot of salt here lately, so that's all I have. Do I have a
Motion to adjourn.
motion? Meeting adjourned.